Welcome to the QSM podcast, where we inspire you to unplug from social media and reconnect with the real world around you. Here are your hosts, partners and friends, investigators, Elias, Lou, Larry, and George.
Today's episode is all about how to start the journey of quitting social media and the incredible benefits that we expect to receive from it. All right, guys.
What's going on?
How's it going?
Good to be back.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It has.
Yeah, it has.
So what do you guys feel about this topic, right? How we're going to try to figure out and help people know that not only is it possible, but these are some avenues they have, right? On making those first steps on quitting social media.
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible because we've done it, right?
Right.
So it's possible. And what do you think are some of the most important benefits that people can start to see pretty rapidly once they get off of social media?
Go ahead, Uncle Lou.
I think for once I think we touched on this on the first episode, but your attention span, right? You start getting used to staying away from just a 30-second clip or, the likes on the Instagram. You start having a more...
Like a longer attention span?
Longer attention span, yeah.
Right.
And not only that, but also, what can we do in terms of if you're quitting social media, where do you put your attention? What are some hobbies that you have available? Like, where do you now use that time in a productive way?
Right. Speaking of attention span, I came across a guy named Dandipana. I don't know if you know who he is. He's like an Indian monk who tried to teach people how to meditate. And he said something really interesting. He said that basically the reason why people have a hard time concentrating or focusing is because they've never been taught how to concentrate or how to focus. Mm. Like you're a kid, you're in school, and the teacher's like, you need to concentrate. Your parents are like, you got to concentrate, you got to focus. But you've never been taught how to do that. And so something that he said is that we're actually training ourselves to be distracted. And we're becoming really good at it because we're constantly swiping on our phones, video after video,
commercials,
image after image, news bite after news bite. So because we're doing that, we're actually training our attention span to be shorter, which we know is the opposite of what we want, right? Because most things that are of value take a lot of focus and a lot of dedication, and it's in the long term that we see results. So that's something that I think we're definitely doing to ourselves. We're shortening our attention spans because of social media.
Yeah, and not only social media, but every other thing, like music. Do you go an hour throughout the day without being bombarded by outside entertainment? Whether it's a commercial, Netflix, your phone, your music, you're listening to a podcast. Like, do you ever have an hour to just be alone in your own thoughts, right? Even if you're going into the bathroom, people are not taking books, I don't think, anymore, right? Everybody's on their phone. If you don't have your phone and you're on the toilet, you're freaking out. Right. I mean, I've even gone into the shower with my phone to listen to a video. Right. It's sad to say, but it's the truth. Yeah. And so it's like, where can we disconnect that line, to where we don't need our phones 24/7?
Right.
I'll ask you this. Have you guys ever seen someone watch a show or a movie and scroll through social media as you're doing it?
Yes.
Oh, God, man.
Yesterday.
Isn't that something that's just
recently double pleasure?
That's crazy, right?
I went to the theaters recently.
So, like, I'm gonna at a movie theater, dude, and you're paying for that experience, right?
I was watching John Wick 4. Go watch it. Shameless plug. Anyways, listen, it was 4DX. I don't know if you guys would know, but
everything's moving.
Everything's
right?
moving,
Smelling it, you're
and
feeling
she was on her phone, my boy, the whole time. Homegirl's recording. She's doing this. She's moving around. A roller coaster ride. She's recording,
missing the movie,
and then uploading it, recording clips and uploading it, which is also illegal. But
she was recording the movie.
She was recording clips of it and posting on her social media.
Yeah, like, this is my experience. I'm watching John Wick.
But mind you,
look at me.
Don't say her name.
But I don't know who she is. She was sitting like a couple of rows ahead of me.
Okay.
But it was moving.
What is 4DX, bro? I don't know what that is.
So the seat moves, right?
Okay.
Some of them, they're just going to blow air on you, spritz water on you, depending on what you're seeing on the screen, right? So if the dude's in a car chase, right, you're gonna feel the bumps in the
And the
road.
wind
You're gonna
and
feel
everything.
that crash. You're gonna feel like it's immersive, right? It's what they're trying to do. Not just audio
okay.
anymore, physically too.
And you're smelling the tires burning.
You're smelling
Right? Yeah, they're doing
you have
everything they
smells and
can
everything.
right, to make you be there.
Really?
Yeah, man.
I wasn't aware of that.
So like I'm already in that world, right, where I'm gonna sit here and enjoy this film, enjoy this movie, enjoy this episode. Well, let's say you do something like Netflix. I know it's no commercials, right? I know that when I press play, I'm gonna be able to enjoy the entirety of this episode. I'm not gonna be talking about, pillow pets or anything else, commercials. Like, this is what I'm watching. But even then, that phone is on me and I'm consuming the Instagram. I'm looking at the TikTok and getting those alerts. So it's like, back to attention span. It's like, can you really watch that, pay attention, remember while you're doing this? No
impossible.
way.
It's impossible.
It's not training you to have like, what is it, like multitasking. So it's not this Instagram and all these other social media isn't a tool to make you a master of multitasking. You're just giving, just pebbles of your attention to everybody at the same time, but it's not the same. It's all a weakened sense of self.
Yeah. And where you see it a lot too is in a concert. If you go, watch your favorite band, your favorite artist play.
Yeah.
You're seeing people are enjoying that concert through their phone screen.
Through a
They're not-
screen, man.
Their eyes never really saw
That's
it.
so sad,
Right?
bro.
Their eyes never really
sad,
saw it.
really.
If they want a memory, they're not going in.
No.
This is fucking crazy, but they're not going in their head for that memory of that event. They're going to the phone, to the post
Right.
for the memory of them being there. Their eyes never really saw it.
Man,
Yeah.
That's
And they're more worried
crazy.
about posting their experience online so other people could go, oh wow, you went there. But
Right.
really nobody cares. Like
That
people
means
are-
more. That
Right.
you get
Yeah.
that, you got that like, you got that, oh yeah, I'm
wow, you were
That's
that
what I'm
close
saying.
to Bad Bunny.
Because you're there? You're a Bad Bunny? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm with you too. Even though I'm at home looking at you recording the event that you're watching through another recording. What is that?
And most of the time you'll realize that people really don't care. And they'll just scroll
Nobody
right
cares,
past your
bro.
stories. They're like, oh, you went to
That's
Bad Bunny?
crazy.
Cool. I mean,
Nobody
and
cares.
They almost look at you like you're the weird one that doesn't have their phone out. Right?
Right.
If you're standing there actually enjoying it, vibing to the
Yeah.
music, looking at what's going
Yeah.
on, you're weird. Why isn't your phone out?
yeah.
Yeah, you're the weirdo.
That's where we're at right now.
It's almost like people feel that they weren't really there unless they posted it on social media.
They need that validation, right? That validation is, I think, one of the biggest things that social media kind of puts out. Like, if someone's not giving you that validation online, it wasn't good enough. So you worked your ass off. You were there for 2 hours. You sweat. You burned calories. You went to that concert, whatever. But if those likes aren't there, if they're not sharing your stuff, did it happen?
Did it
Was
happen?
Was it worth it? Was it important? Was it valuable?
Or was it real?
Social currency. Was it real? Yeah.
wow. Yeah,
It's not about me anymore, right? It's not about the experience that I had. If someone else isn't validating me that I did that,
Right.
it's worthless. I shouldn't have gone on that vacation because people didn't like the fact that I took pictures in Spain. That was pointless. It doesn't matter anymore.
Wow.
right. And going back to the topic, I feel like once you do obviously get past that stage that, you're not part of the system anymore, part of the social media system, you actually develop a greater gratitude towards real people. Because at that point, you are reconnecting with people instead of a screen. And I think that's a big part of it,
Yeah, I agree.
Let me ask you guys a question. We're not on social media. We're not taking pictures and uploading them. But do you guys still take pictures? Like if you go out to dinner, are you taking pictures of, selfies with your family?
Yeah.
Are you taking pictures of your food?
100%.
Are you still recording?
I don't know about
at a
the food,
concert?
but-
Not with the intent to posting it on social media, but for you to consume later. Is that something that you guys still do?
It's a good question. I don't think the recording of like concerts and things like that,
Yeah.
but definitely photos with people, right? Just like we have photo albums, right? So that photo album that someone has in their dusty attic is the equivalent of like the back then, right? How to catalog those things. So I think, the photos is cool, but the videos, no, that's not something that I can say I do as much. Photos, yeah.
I think some people might not even know what you're talking about when you say a photo album in
right?
a dusty attic. You know what I mean? Because they've never seen film.
What is that?
No, they've never seen film. That's true.
So
Well, guys, back then, your grandparents would take photos,
Once upon a time.
walk to Eckerd's,
Yeah.
get them developed,
Yeah.
and then wait for it to be ready, pick it up, and then they're showing that to their family for the next 20, 30 years.
right, so they print it out and
Print it
actually
out.
look at the picture. 'cause
And they're
people
having
don't do that.
conversations.
It's
about
beautiful.
it, right? This is what your dad used to
beautiful,
look like.
man.
We're going to laugh about it. We're going to talk about it. Not just double tap. There's the heart. We're done with it. We're going to have a real conversation about this. And it's a memory bank, right? This happened. I lived it because I took that photo and half of them didn't even have a screen.
Right.
They didn't know if the photo was good. Their fingers in the photo. They don't know. But now that whole experience of developing it and talking about it, that's bringing back that memory. That's causing you to have that recollection.
Right. And to answer your question, I usually don't take a whole lot of pictures. That's usually my fiance does most of the pictures. So I'm not big on, taking pictures of my food. Like
Same, yeah.
That's something that
I don't think none of us here take pictures.
I've never quite understood. Why are we taking pictures of our food right before we eat it?
That's ridiculous.
And posting it on the internet. You know what I mean? I've never been able to quite understand that. I've seen a lot of pictures of food, and I appreciate food. I really like food.
I love food.
But that's just one of those things that kind of became a thing, right? Because like when my parents were growing up and they took photos, right, film, I don't think I ever saw a picture of food. I'm pretty sure they ate. I'm pretty sure they were eating.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they were eating. If I had to guess, I would say they were eating back in the 70s and the 80s, but there was no pictures of food. It's crazy.
Right.
So
What's the appeal? I mean,
Yeah, go ahead. Give an experience.
For
You
me,
record concerts and
no, it's just no. I mean, not even food. It's just I record. Like if I want an establishment, I would take a photo, with my chick there, but that's about it. But it's for me.
right.
It's a memory.
Yeah.
right, that's understandable. You're taking a picture. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, if I go to Dubai or something, I'm gonna take a picture in Dubai, obviously.
Right.
But that's for me. I'm not gonna post that I'm in Dubai.
Right. I think that's the difference.
Nobody
right?
needs
You're
to
taking
know.
that photo for you. For
Nobody
you to
needs to know.
share with your family, your wife. Hey, we were here combating dementia, 50 years from now, but not for that validation.
Or if I buy a new car at the dealership, I don't need to take a picture of it. Why?
Right.
Why am I gonna take a picture of it
Right,
and
that's
post
gonna
it?
be your
I can take a
dating
picture.
card. Yeah.
For me, maybe it's an accomplishment. It's my first car, or maybe for young kids watching. I don't know. Finally you're able to buy your first car, but okay, but it's for you. That's
Right.
it. I wouldn't post it.
But they feel like,
The thing is that that opens the door to negativity, and it goes back to how it affects you as a person. So let's say you worked your ass off to buy your first car, right? Busting your ass flipping burgers in McDonald's, and you finally buy your used car. It's like $4,000. When you finally buy your car, you take a photo, you post on social media, and some asshole is gonna say, "Look at that piece of shit that you just bought."
Right.
How's that gonna make you feel?
Yeah.
Come on. You're opening
Yeah.
yourself up to that in a way, and people don't realize that. People are gonna talk shit,
that's true.
in my opinion.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I think there's always going to be a troll on the internet that's going to write
But it's gonna
something.
affect you. It's gonna affect you if
It
you're
will,
not,
especially if you're a kid, right?
and if
'Cause-
you're young, and if you're not mentally ready to hear that from somebody.
Correct.
The world is brutal out there.
Yeah, it
For
is.
anybody listening, the world is fucked up.
right.
And you have a lot of bad people out there.
I agree.
You
And what are some of the benefits now? Let's say somebody's listening and they're like, okay, I've been listening to this guys, for one episode, and I think I want to take some time off of social media.
Right.
What do you think are some of the steps that they should be taking? Right, because there's always a cold turkey approach, which is like just delete everything, delete and never look back. But most people are not going to do that. Not that we necessarily recommend that, because that's pretty hard to do. You want to have people take steps that are realistic and reasonable, and have them kind of like test the waters. Like, hey, what does my life look like without social media? So what do you think are some of the steps that, somebody listening could take to just start, looking outside of the matrix, if you will?
It's a good question. At some point, we'll put out like a blueprint, right, that will help everybody kind of follow. But I think one of the most important things is, how do you feel? And I think Uncle Lou mentioned it on like a past episode. How do you feel when you put that phone away for a little bit, right? And talking from my own experience, I realized I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to waste my time doing this. I'll set the phone aside. And as I'm going to go and approach that task, I'll reach for my phone.
Right.
It's like, damn it, I just told myself that I'm not going to touch the phone. But it's almost now, it's a muscle memory that before I do this, I need to grab this, right? I need to be swiping while I watch and things like that. So I think one of the first steps is figuring out how bad it is, right? So cold turkey, we're not necessarily saying delete all those apps and walk away from it. But if you delete them, or if you tell yourself, I'm not using it for the next 6 hours, right? And if you had a hard time with those 6 hours, I think that in itself is a reality check into starting that journey. Because if I couldn't control myself for 6 hours, then what am I really doing for the rest of my day? Or how am I going to do this for a month? So I think it's almost gauging how bad that addiction, right, or that control that phone and that social media has over you is a good point. Is a good point of reference. So gauging yourself. Can I do 6 hours today? Right? Can I do 8 tomorrow? And really understanding your own limitations or how bad that addiction is.
Yeah.
Right. Actually, you showed me something. Uncle Lou showed me something with his phone that you press a button, you changed it to black and white, to grayscale. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Basically, you go into your settings and you can, put a setting where your phone loses all color. And it's interesting because you could change it like this and you realize that you now don't want to use your phone. It's boring. Right?
Right. Everything's still on there. You have, there's YouTube on there. There's all your applications are on there. But
right.
Now you just don't want to touch it, you're saying?
Right. And like an addict, right? You go, well, maybe I just want to see color for a little second. Right. And you change it back.
Just 1 minute.
And you forget about it and you use it like that again.
Right.
So it's an interesting little experiment that you can do. Go into your settings and turn the color off and you'll see your screen time start to decline.
Wow, that's so interesting.
That is interesting. And I think that's part of what those engineers put all that work into, right? They want the best colors, the best graphics. Yeah. They count on iPhone updating their screens because their content looks that much better. Yeah. And if you take that color away from it, it's get that salt off the steak, it's not that cool anymore. I don't want it anymore. It's almost annoying to look at. Right. So that could help, absolutely.
There has to be something in our psychology that makes us so attracted to color. I remember reading an article where Steve Jobs, the late founder of Apple, he said that when he was designing the iPhone, he wanted the colors to look so beautiful that people wanted to lick the buttons, that they wanted to lick the screen, basically. Because he must have understood that the more beautiful the colors are and the icons look, the more people are going to interact with the device,
Yeah.
So
color's extremely important. There's classrooms, my background, family, and so on, where they've done experiments on how they paint the classrooms.
Right.
Different colors, shades of all kinds, and how good the students pay attention, right? How happy they are in that environment just by the color on the walls. The teacher's excellent. The content is the same, but just in that environment, being surrounded by the color changed their behavior, how they took in the information. So we talked about it in the last episode, and we're going to keep referencing children. Right. So if these people are spending money on this kind of research, right, undoubtedly they're going to understand this. Like you said, what color does to you.
Right.
Imagine kids that they're going to say, hey, I'd rather pay attention to that. I feel like I'm learning better looking at this. And that happens to be social media. That isn't teaching them anything.
Right. And color does affect your physiology. We know that. I mean, you've probably heard of green rooms when people are going to go on stage on a big show on television and talk, or actors, they go to green rooms. Green rooms are actually painted green. And the reason why is because it controls their heart rate. The color green kind of relaxes people, as opposed to if you put them in a room that had red in it.
Right. Yeah, that would.
Their heart's going to start racing. Their blood pressure is going to go up. This is why you don't see a lot of cars that have like red in the interior, because it will make you more risky. It'll also raise your adrenaline.
Yeah, it's an aggressive.
Most cars are black or gray, and it's color psychology. That's what it is.
Subtle.
So interesting.
Subtle colors, yeah.
So that's one of the steps. What's another step you guys think is important to have in there as far as someone trying to, again, go on this journey of quitting social media?
And when it comes to the benefits, we mean, right? It comes
benefits,
to
and what are some things you think are important for them to try when they're starting off?
Like steps to take. Right. Well, the grayscale is a good idea to just see how you feel looking at your screen.
Right.
Again, if you're not going to go cold turkey, probably maybe not deleting your account, but at least removing the app from your phone, right? Because if you're seeing the app, you're probably going to click on it. So if you delete the app, even though you've kept your account, it's not like you've committed all the way, but at least now when you feel like going on Instagram, when you go to click, you're like, oh, the app's not here. Now I got to download it first.
Right.
And then I got to go. It might be enough of a deterrent to make you be like, you know what, I'll stay off for maybe a couple more hours or for a little, or maybe a day, or, so that's probably one of the steps that I would take, just temporarily deleting some of your apps.
Yeah. Gotcha. So far we've covered basically monitoring how much you're using it, right? Giving yourself your own time limits, using the applications on the phone that tells you how long you've been on it.
Yeah.
Changing to grayscale. And then deleting the app from the phone, but let's say not the account, right? So you didn't get rid of all those photos and you took that big plunge, but it's harder to access. How about you, Larry? What are some input you have on as far as those steps?
I mean, I think piggybacking on what you guys are talking about, I mean, just engaging in activities that I would tell you, like they uplift you and they add value to your life from there on out. Once you take the step of getting rid of that temporarily, right? Social media or getting rid of that app, disabling it, then you look at yourself, you introspect, you sit down and you're like, how do I want to uplift myself? What can I do?
What am I interested in?
To better myself,
Yeah.
and stop. And I think Uncle Lou mentioned it, the FOMO, the fear of missing out when it comes to like social media, because
Right.
you're gonna go through it, because you're gonna go through it. You're gonna be, damn, I want to know what Linda's doing, or I want to know what Maria's doing, or whatever.
Right.
And you want to know what they're posting, and you're gonna you go through withdrawals.
Could you elaborate on fear of missing out a little bit just for me? Because I kind of know what it is, but I'm not exactly sure if I know what it is. Like, what do you mean by fear of missing out? This is a thing?
Yeah, there's a thing.
Because
What does it mean exactly?
Okay, so fear of missing out, and they've used this in commercials to make people do things. That's why it's so interesting.
yeah,
So essentially, you see someone buying something, going for that sale, and then later being able to show off that I have this thing. Same as obviously social media, what it's doing, right? So that fear of missing out on that sale, that experience, that food,
Correct.
that clothing, that car, that so on. And that is what they basically market, right?
So fear of missing out on ads?
Fear of missing out on what those ads are supposedly going to give you, right? But when you have, but it could be a real life thing, right? So, you just can't let go of being part of it because you're going to miss out on that experience, right? Obviously, we're talking about a lot of this applying to digital experiences, right? If you're not logged in, you're going to miss this, right?
Right.
You're going to miss this trend. You're not going to, you're going to come in the bandwagon. You're doing your little TikTok dance. Guess what? Now it's not cool anymore.
Right.
We're on another choreography. You just missed out, right? So the fear of missing out is like, I need to get on it now. I
just
need to
missed-
practice this now
Right.
and post. If not, I'm not cool.
you just missed the chance of hitting 1 million views,
right.
because that's what's trending now.
That's what's trending.
You don't know like what's the current event or what's
You don't know
the new
anything.
trend.
Right.
You're not on social media.
So
you.
that FOMO
Wow.
and I mean Macy's will do it. I mean any company you can think of, that FOMO is a thing.
Right.
Where don't be the guy, don't have
Right.
fear of missing out, just do it. Just join, just participate. Don't think about it, log in, post, be part of it.
Right.
And there was Uncle was mentioning of like an alternative, right? To change from FOMO to what was it?
JOMO,
To
joy of missing out.
the joy of missing out, right? And I think that's one of our goals here in this podcast.
Yeah.
Quit social media, right? So instead of feeling like FOMO, man, I'm not logged in, what's going on? It's being able to look at all those people that are just drones, looking at their phones,
Sleepers, man.
just plugged into that matrix, and you are
Guys are
JOMO.
sleeping.
I have joy that I'm missing out. I'm happy that I'm not in that rat race of a social media cycle anymore. I'm free from that, and that brings me joy, not despair. But I think a lot of people experience the fear first because it's all they know. They've been on social media for years, but yeah, that's the goal. If we can get people JOMOing more than FOMOing, we did our jobs here, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also want to piggyback off of Valerio saying that, it's replacing your bad habits with good habits. So
Right.
finding out, what's something that you've always wanted to do.
Yeah, man.
Do you want to get into running? Do you want to start lifting weights?
Do you wanna
wanna
rock
start a
climb?
business? You want to rock climb, right? Like what are hobbies that you have? You might think, I don't have time for hobbies. I work too much. But if you're on your phone 7 hours a day, you have time for hobbies.
100%.
And
Yeah.
and so it's finding out what are your interests. It's not just quitting cold turkey or dropping this thing and not doing anything else. Like using your time useful. I think that's what we're all trying to do. I
Yeah,
don't think any of us are perfect, but we're trying to.
We're trying to do something right, and it's I think idle hands, right? It can lead either way, good things or bad things. So if you replace those idle hands, if you see, damn, and my screen time says that I've been using Instagram for 8 hours straight, and I'm thinking I can't do the gym, right? I can't teach my kids how to play the piano, whatever it is. When you say, okay, so I'm going to bring that screen time down to 4 hours. So in theory, and it's reality, I should have 4 more hours of free time.
It's math.
And then, it's just simple math.
Numbers don't lie.
And it helps you not be distracted, like you said, because if you're just sitting there like, oh, this free time, I deleted the app. What do I do? I'm going to install it. But if I say, I'm going to delete the app and I'm going to go to the gym.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go see my mom because it's been like 4 weeks. I kind of forgot where she lived too. I should maybe call her and not just keep sending her these memes on Instagram, because now you have the time to do it. And it kind of replace that. Because if I'm having a live conversation with my mom, or if I'm sweaty and lifting weight in the gym, I may not be able to swipe as easily, on that application.
Is it possible though to go to the gym and not, take a picture or video of yourself and post it on social media?
I think there's people who go to the gym and they can't work out unless they're doing that 100%.
I think there's people going just to take one video and then they're leaving.
I think we know a couple of people that they're there.
We know a couple.
They're not lying that they're there.
They want for sure.
But let's just say the longevity of those workouts, the completeness of those sets may not be the truth on social media.
Yeah. I'll tell you another benefit, I think, and we were talking about this earlier. If you're not on social media, you're not bombarded with information all day long, with ads, propaganda, stuff like that. So if something happens in the world and you do have that fear of missing out, if it's important enough, somebody's going to tell you about it.
Fair point.
If there's something in the news that's important that you should know about it, someone's going to come tell you, hey, did you hear that this happened? And you're going to be like, no, I didn't. Tell me about it. And now you're in a conversation with somebody about it. And they're spoon feeding you all the information. So it's a big benefit because you just saved yourself all of that time, all of that energy where you were looking at garbage 90% of the time. Maybe there was something of value and you didn't have to waste all that time up front because somebody's going to tell you if it's important. That's just the way. That's just the way it works.
It is true. If it's that major, someone will tell you. And obviously, we have different generations here, sort of. So, our parents preparing breakfast in the morning, and the news is going.
Right.
We're probably watching Pokemon somewhere else or something, right?
Yeah. I never saw Pokemon.
Sure.
Wow.
So
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yu-Gi-Oh, you too old, right? Some black and white thing. I don't know. We'll come up with it. It's the cat or something. So our parents had that playing in the background, right?
Right.
And it's on. That's that Telemundo. That's that Channel 7. This exploded and that crashed and that traffic, whatever. And they're feeding themselves this. But again, I don't know about you guys. Not many parents are going to wake up at 4 a.m. so that they have that extra hour to sit in front of the television to watch that.
Right.
As they're also making breakfast, warming up the car, getting the kids dressed, whatever. If anything, it's just kind of playing in the background like a podcast, like a radio station. Kind of that information's there.
Right.
But it's not feeding the monster of something like social media that requires input. Because if I play that social media 9 times out of 10, if I'm not scrolling, it's going to keep playing the same shit over and over again. So I need to give it input. I need to watch it. I need to react. I need to like. I need to scroll. So that parent's going to have a hard time dressing their child, helping to brush the teeth, preparing that breakfast, if one of their hands is tied up doing this and scrolling up and down. So I think it changes the dynamic that you said about news information, right? Back then, it's simple. Play the TV, and that's a norm. I'm going to listen to that. I'm going to go on the drive or whatever.
Or the newspaper.
Or the newspaper, right? They're actually, reading and doing something with their eyes. But now that doesn't exist anymore. No one's going to set the time aside to turn on the TV. They just know they wake up and the first thing they do, we don't have alarm clocks anymore, guys. Nobody just has a regular old bell alarm clock that they can smash through across the room and it's over with. It's your phone.
Yeah.
So the moment you snooze it or turn it off, you also just turn on Instagram and you're ready to go. Yeah. And tell everybody how tired you are and what a terrible Monday this is.
It's that much easier to get on Instagram because your phone is also your alarm.
Yeah, your addiction is
right to the phone as soon as you wake up.
The problem is with you everywhere you go.
And that's wrong. That is the one thing they always tell you not to. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is not be on the phone.
That's a great way to ruin your day.
Because the phone produces certain wavelengths. I'm not a scientific guy, but
no, you're right.
It produces certain things that usually what they tell you actually is to have natural light.
Yes.
That's the first thing you do. Come into the room.
Like you see in the movies, right? Open up the window. The sun hits you in the face.
Even
wow,
then,
look at this.
Or even then, you could have a night lamp that actually produces natural light or a natural light. Yeah. And then that's how you kind of wake yourself up slowly.
It's funny you mentioned that. I tried that in the room, and that's actually works. Like I have my the light bulb to kind of its intensity goes up. So my alarm clock goes on, and it's little by little it's going up. It's my own little simulated sunrise.
But it's great.
Instead of bam, that light's brightness 100%. Wake up, here you are. Swipe. Yeah. What is this?
Because the first thing you do is you go. Oh, you wake up in the morning and you check your social media. You go, boom.
Uncle Lou said, your day's ruined.
And that's it.
Ruined, yeah.
And it really throws you off.
I mean, it's happened to me where I wake up and I go, I want to go for a run. It's a beautiful day.
And you don't.
And then you open up the weather app and then next thing you know, you're on YouTube. You're watching,
that's it.
Some stupid shit. And you're like,
you're watching cat videos. You're watching cat videos.
Yeah. You start watching food videos. You're like, I'm pretty hungry. I don't want to run.
I don't want to do it.
And so, I mean, that's a good test for people. Like, wake up and
don't look at your phone.
Go outside. Go for a walk.
I know a
some
lot
vitamin
of
D.
Go straight into the bathroom, brush your face.
Experience it yourself.
right.
Yeah.
Do it yourself.
I was going to say a lot of people that are creative types, like writers, artists. I know James Clear. I don't know if you know who he is. He wrote Atomic Habits.
Right.
He says that
Great
when he was writing the book, which is a phenomenal book, it's been a bestseller for years, and it's a very well written book. He said that when he was writing that book, he'd wake up in the morning and his phone would go off as his alarm, and he would leave it in another room so he can go to another room so he could start writing, because he knew if the phone was even in the room with him, that was enough to distract him. That's how powerful these devices are, and social media. So if you got to leave it somewhere else, that's another step that somebody could try. Wake up in the morning. If it's hard for you, if you're doing something in the morning, just leave it in another room and go about your morning. Whether you're making coffee or getting ready for school or going to work.
Yeah.
To see if it keeps you off of the apps if you haven't already removed them.
Yeah, you have to see what works for you.
Yeah, everybody's lifestyle and the way they start the day is different, right? But you can plan ahead. If you know the news is important for you, traffic updates are important for you, there's a million ways to have that. Like your Alexa you wake up at 5 a.m., right? At 5:02, Alexa will tell you, hey, you have, very heavy traffic today and it's raining, grab a raincoat. You don't need to see 10 different people complaining about the traffic on social media, right?
Yeah.
And all these other places for you to know there's traffic, because now you're getting all that negativity you guys are talking about.
Right.
So there are ways to kind of set yourself up for success,
Right.
Whether it be a phone in another room, having, other things that don't require your input work for you, automation, and not have to require your attention, and you're just slave to that device.
Right. I don't know if you noticed, but I actually, when I was getting off social media for about a year, you may know this, I used a flip phone for about a year.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which is
made
pretty.
Fun of you a lot for that, actually.
Yeah, I got made fun of a lot for that. But it was kind of an experiment for me to see if I could survive without a smartphone. And I did it for over a year. And when COVID kind of hit, I kind of went back to a smartphone just because I had so many group texts on WhatsApp and different things that I was just so behind. I couldn't text, or, nobody knew what was happening in the world at the time. So I kind of went back to it. I felt like I needed it just to survive.
Right.
And when I had the flip phone, I noticed that I had a lot more focus than I had when I had the smartphone. With the flip phone, I felt like I had a lot more focus. It was definitely a talking piece. Everybody wanted to talk about the flip phone. People were like, "Are you serious? Is that really your phone?"
Motorola Razr?
I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, this is my phone. This is what I'm using right now."
Yeah.
So maybe that's very, very extreme for somebody who's addicted maybe to social media or has a problem with it. But something you could try is, if you're going to have a weekend out somewhere or go on a vacation, is buy a flip phone, which they're like $25, switch your SIM card and take that trip with you and see how you feel, right? These new flip phones have some GPS technology. Like you're not completely lost in the sauce. Like if something happens, you can find your way around. They're a lot smarter than what they used to be, but they're not going to make you use them the same way that you would use a smartphone. You're going to open your flip phone and say, I have nothing to do here.
Yeah.
Correct.
You're going to call people. And that's another thing. I actually called a lot of people and spoke to them on the phone, because texting is a nightmare. Right? Texting is like, this is horrible. I can't do this.
Yeah.
So I actually called my parents and I spoke to them because I had to. That's kind of what the phone required.
That's actually interesting you bring that up. I remember there's this website or a company called The Light Phone. You guys have heard of it?
I've heard of it. I've heard of it.
And it's basically, a phone that doesn't have, I'm reading here, doesn't have social media, doesn't have any clickbait news, emails. It doesn't have an internet browser or any other anxiety, quote unquote, inducing, infinite feed. So I guess it's basically like having an old Nokia, but a more modern, slick.
Yes.
With
what you're used to. You're used to holding something with a screen, nothing flip phoning, but it's still helping by limiting all those things.
Yeah, I think the only downside of it is that it's pretty expensive.
Yes,
compared to like a Nokia.
Yeah, or to a flip phone that's like $20.
Right.
So that phone, what's cool about that phone is that, like you said, it's kind of smart in the sense that I think they made it that you can it'll give you directions. You can still text like a regular keyboard. It can give you stuff that you kind of need. Like I think it does podcasting, stuff like that.
Right.
But its grayscale is like an e-ink screen, just like an e-reader. And it doesn't obviously function the same way that a smartphone would function. So they're kind of trying to find that happy medium between like a flip phone and a smartphone. It's quite expensive though.
Yeah.
Right now. So.
Right. And then the free thing is what's in your hand already, right? Just deleting it. That's for free.
It is for free, but it's hard. Yeah.
But that's the hardest thing, right?
It's the hardest thing.
It's the easiest in the sense of like how to get it started. You delete the app. That's it. Delete the app. Your phone still works. You still call, still text.
Yeah.
But some people still feel they need to go to that, addiction recovery retreat. You need to spend the $300, $400, $500 on that phone to succeed. That shows you how bad it is.
Yeah. That's how bad it is. There's a market for people using a light phone.
These engineers came together, a whole company formulated on this thing, and they're going to charge you for it because of how bad this issue is.
Yes, that's how big of a problem it is.
That's crazy.
And you don't think that, any of the technology companies today could come up with a solution and say, hey, we could design a phone that will have all these important features that we all use, but it's not going to make people addicted to the device. It can be done. They just don't want to. They don't want to do it.
No, I don't think that's one of their. It's not on their little whiteboard of like, hey, these are priorities for our new phone. Or I don't see that.
Yeah. Let's help society. Let's make a phone that does everything that people want, but doesn't make them addicted. They're never going to do that. Right. So it's up to independent companies like the Light Phone.
Yeah.
Or for us to build enough willpower to get off of social media apps.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so I hope with this episode you guys are going to get a little sneak peek as to different options that are out there for you guys to start the process of quitting social media. Like I mentioned, we are going to come up in the future with like a blueprint, right? Like any other addiction protocols, 12 steps and stuff like that. We'll come up with our own that's going to be effective and can kind of reach as many people as possible to help them start this journey with something to follow. But I hope this was kind of a way to kind of open up some eyes as to that it is possible for you, no matter the age of the family dynamic, to start this journey.
Thanks for listening to the QSM podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, tune in next time and share with others. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and visit our website, quitsocialmedia.com, for more exclusive content. Until next time, remember to unplug and reconnect.